Manifesting your specific person doesn't necessarily mean it's just about your affirmations. There are more elements that go into it and that can make up the whole picture of getting to that end result that you want. It does tie into how you hold yourself mentally. So that is today's video. I'm going to explain to you guys how to add an amazing boost to your specific manifestation that will absolutely benefit you. And that's the most important thing, that you are able to get to the best place, especially with your self-concept. So do keep watching to hear my advice about all of this. If you're new here, I'm Alexa. I'm a manifestation coach and content creator. I'm here on YouTube, and I have so much to talk about regarding all the different areas of manifesting. So any area of your life that you want to improve, work on, you have goals, you have questions, a lot of my content, past and upcoming, will answer that. So make sure you keep watching all the way through this video, because I have a lot of amazing points I want to talk to you guys about today. And do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. Almost 60% of you guys watch without subscribing. So I'd very much appreciate it if you just took a moment, minimize the screen, or press the subscribe button right below. That would be amazing. And of course, only if you enjoy my content. But yeah, everything on screen as well is showing you guys the extras you can get. If you need extra support, please do look at my extra resources, coaching, one-to-one help, everything. It's listed in the description box as well. And now let's start the video. Understanding your own feelings about your specific person will help you resolve and work through those unconscious reactions. So you'll be able to stop, I guess, what your mental diet would be working towards anyway, which I'm not saying this is an alternative or that you just give up applying a mental diet. It's always a really good element and quite essential if you feel triggered, especially with a specific person. But understanding exactly where your feelings are rooted, what you're holding on to. Do you have resentment, or maybe it's all tied into past negative memories with your specific person? Something to do with just all the positive or potentially negative feelings that you have for your SP. It's easy to get caught up in the, ideal end result that you want with your SP without actually thinking about where you are right now. It's gonna help and definitely be a boost. It's not essential, because as I always say, repetition and affirmations are literally how you create the outcome. But this is gonna make it easier. Instead of a really zigzag line, you're gonna have a much more smoother, simple route to get to the end result. So really, it's important to have that self-awareness, and in my opinion, to understand why you feel the way you do about your SP. Do you feel really good, or is it a lot of negative emotions that you're harboring? And it does affect your mental state, so your mental thoughts and the mindset that you have tied in with your emotions. This is also a great way to reverse engineer how you got here. So a good way, an example of how to understand how you feel and then stop those automated unconscious thoughts and reactions you might have, is kind of, reverse engineering. How did you get to this point? How did you get to, whatever you're manifesting with your SP, even if you're in a good place right now and you just are manifesting something, or it's someone you don't know and you're kind of starting a fresh page, you want to understand, okay, well, how did I get here in my assumptions around relationships or dating? And also, what led to the place where I'm at with my SP? Maybe it's a breakup or a lack of contact, whatever it may be. The circumstances themselves are irrelevant, but what led to this? What built into this result? Was it a lot of worrying and doubt and arguments? Maybe it was in your text conversations, the way you spoke to other people about them. Whatever it is, you can kind of get a general idea of reverse engineering and thinking about your experiences, all the really significant positive or negative moments that maybe gave you realizations, or was a really emotional moment for you. You had a big realization. Those are usually the moments where you'll realize, oh yeah, this is what actually happened, and your memory does tend to hold on to it. And if you don't know your boundaries and where you stand, and kind of setting healthy boundaries, and for yourself internally, it's not that you have to go out and tell everyone, but like internally in your thoughts, and knowing, having that self-awareness. This is how I feel about SP. This is where it kind of led to it. I recognize my positive and negative habits, things I can improve on. And by getting awareness of that, you're not going to be giving away your power, and therefore blocking or slowing down the movement and progress and end result of your manifestation, of the relationship that you want. So knowing what your boundaries are, it's a bit more, deep than that, but I just wanted to add in that point and talk to you guys a little bit about that concept. And, so boundaries of what does a healthy relationship look like to you? What does that mean to you? What what do you not tolerate, or what's the behavior that you're no longer going to focus on or acknowledge or accept or, allow in a relationship. You don't want to repeat the same negative cycles, right? And also in terms of manifesting your SP, knowing where to set a boundary and also where to let something go. So setting a boundary, whether it's disengaging or, putting up like a verbal boundary to your SP, maybe if you have constant arguments or, there's consistent behavior that you don't like, whether it's worth setting a boundary or simply letting it go and saying, I'm going to shift around this behavior, with my focus, with my affirmations. This is just a temporary circumstance, especially if it's quite sudden or unexpected from your specific person, then it could just be the old story playing out right now. It doesn't mean it's necessarily who they are, but it's all about understanding, how did I get to this place? What do I feel? What are the boundaries that we currently have? And, how healthy is the relationship that I'm manifesting? So it's also important as well in tying it back to your self-concept, having a healthy self-concept and understanding that by doing all of this, you're holding yourself to a high standard, you're putting yourself on the pedestal and saying, it's my reality, it's, me in my relationship on my end, and these are the boundaries I want. This is the way I'm going to handle it. This is the quality of a relationship that I want, and having that healthy self-concept. I'll get into this a little bit in another point, but not accepting breadcrumbs, not just being in a desperate state, a state of lack and chasing, pursuing. Doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, whoever you're in a relationship with, it's irrelevant. No one should be chasing out of desperation and, coming from a state of lack, essentially, where you're just waiting and trying to gain validation, reassurance, and someone's not showing you interest and you're trying to force a result. That's what I mean by not chasing or pursuing. Because obviously there are affirmations and I have no problem with the concept of an SP chasing or pursuing you. So I'm not, giving double standards here. I'm saying in the context of you trying to get your SP and then consciously going out and just being like, I'm just going to chase and pursue and try and force it. By setting emotional limits and essentially boundaries, you're avoiding feeling triggered. So you're not going to be much more self-aware, intentional, aware of what's going on. You're not going to get as triggered because you're just not going to engage with that. You're not going to be sat there over-analyzing or, you're going to be aware. This is where things have been in the 3D reality circumstances. This is what I'm changing, not focusing on and getting rid of. And, whether it's going into commitment or a date or texting, whatever, you're focusing your attention on what you do want after having acknowledged what you don't want, and setting those emotional boundaries. That, this is where I'm not going to let myself get triggered, and, where I'm not going to engage with this. If this comes up, I'm going to disengage, pull away, do my mental diet, do my affirmations. I'm not going to react. I'm not going to, if something happens in 3D, it's expected. I understand, circumstances may come up, or SP may continue to repeat something I don't like. It's irrelevant. It's the old story from the 3D. Disengage. I'm not going to get triggered, and kind of going in with this mindset and those intentions. So all of that obviously is going to keep you more aligned to the end result, because you're going to be aware of it. You're going to be prepared that something may come up. You're going to know, okay, this isn't the be all end all. This isn't something, that reflects exactly how SP feels. It's just something they said or did, or something that came up in the 3D. You understand where your boundaries are, what you're not going to engage with or just tolerate. You're not going to have to overanalyze and overthink what happened. You kind of know where you stand essentially for yourself. So it's almost like creating that protective space for yourself, a little bit of a bubble in terms of not engaging and analyzing the negative circumstances. Obviously, I'm saying after or separate to having set boundaries and understood how you feel right now, what's going on, the self-awareness of understanding your emotions, having emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, just these kind of different concepts and elements that again, this goes into other videos, so I don't want to ramble on and add too many ideas into this one video or overwhelm you guys, because also it's things that I've been thinking about recently as well that I want to maybe delve into more in my content. But essentially understanding generally these concepts, how you feel, where your level is at, and again, it will help you reverse engineer. Did you have that mindset and that state already, or is it something you've developed, or is it something you maybe want to put more focus into? And therefore having that protective space of knowing, oh, this is what's tying in here, and I understand that I need to focus more here, or that was just the old story, or when SP exhibits this behavior, it's just tied into this specific element. I'm not going to get triggered. I can see that that's what that is. I'm going to apply my mental diet now and disengage going forward. So it really is about holding high standards, generally high, obviously not low or somewhat standards, but high standards for how your SP treats you. Again, that's the mindset you want to focus on. And that is significant to the reality that you want to create and that you're focusing on, because the version of them that you want is going to treat you that way. So again, we're getting into it now about not accepting breadcrumbs, not just, trying to overanalyze or say, oh, if they said this or did that, you just know, you understand these concepts, you know what's going on. You've applied the self-awareness and awareness of what's going on. That's not to delve into 3D circumstances. Again, let's distinguish the difference, but it's just about maybe understanding how things led to this point. A general idea of what's being shown to you, emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, maturity, or whatever it may be, all these different elements, and then knowing, okay, the reality I want exhibits this, and this is where I'm going to focus my attention. And if I'm not getting the treatment that I want and that my standards are not being met, I'm not going to get triggered or spiral or cause an argument or try and mention it to SP over and over. I'm going to disengage, apply my mental diet, focus on what I want, and make sure that the relationship that you have is giving you that treatment. And that's the mindset that you consciously shift back in. Like I said, mental diet is a huge way to do that, because it's probably going to be random moments throughout your day, or random moments that trigger you, or an unexpected, of course, argument, for example, if you have contact, or there's so many different examples, and it doesn't really matter. Like I said, those are just temporary circumstances in the moment, but something may come up at a specific moment. So a mental diet will likely be the most appropriate way to resolve that. But consciously shifting back into that mindset. Whenever you notice those old doubts or fears sneak back in, or you do start to maybe feel triggered and something comes up, you know how to label it, you know how to, focus on it just to that extent, recognize what it is, and then shift your focus back to the reality that you do want. So self-concept does tie into this. Overall, of course, you want to focus on the end result that you're creating. I'm not saying to sit here and analyze everything to do with your SP and try and apply all these different concepts and terminology, but it's a good way to develop your own understanding your own psychology and self-awareness and everything. It really, really does help throughout the manifesting process. So you just understand, what maybe has been reflected, but also holding yourself to a higher standard, having high standards for yourself, reinforcing your own self-worth, not accepting those breadcrumbs and saying, oh yeah, no, this isn't to the level that I want yet. This isn't what I'm focusing on. This isn't what I'm creating. And maybe revising if you need to, but your affirmations, repetition, consistency, and a mental diet are all amazing things that are going to shift your mindset around a lot. And remember that your SP inevitably has to conform and become the ideal version, or whatever is kind of at a distance right now. That distance will be closed, removed. You will receive the consistent results with your SP that you want. So I really think, the focus on your own emotional understanding, mental understanding, and self-concept and everything does tie in and help a lot. But your repetition of your affirmations is always a key element. These are just like some extra concepts I wanted to introduce and discuss with you guys, but I think I'm going to leave this video here. There's a lot more to discuss, as I'm sure you guys could tell from this video if you're watching through to the end. I can definitely delve deeper. If this video resonated with you guys and really made sense for you, then please do let me know. I definitely like to talk more about these topics. And I will see you guys next time.